5 minutes total.
We're live on stream and we're back on the radio in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com. Sam Webb, Matt the Ms. Misler on the other side, filling in for Ira Weintraub and the MGoBlog Roundtable crew with us this morning yet again. We get a chance to focus on something that actually makes me happy. That's college football. Good morning, Brian Cook. How are you, my friend?
What, the Lions, are they not doing well? What's going on? I thought you were.
The Tigers lost yesterday, man. Tigers lost yesterday. I'm hoping that they can rescue some respect by actually winning this game today and going on to losing the divisional round. I'm hoping.
Sam, at least you've got a good pro football team. I'm in Spain minus the S right now with the
Yeah, you're a Saints fan. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
That's bad.
At least you won a Super Bowl, though, Miz. At least you won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Seth Fisher, good morning. How are you?
Never fear, Sam. Today is the Day of Atonement, and I'm going to be cutting out of here early. Already, those who are watching online get to see me in a tie for the first time ever, and I'm going to go make things right. I'm going to go. We're going to be okay this afternoon.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, Craig. I mean, Seth's in a tie. I've never seen that before. That did strike me. And then Craig Ross, who before you guys came on was rubbing it in. The Cleveland was coming out in him, folks. It was coming out. Craig Ross, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. I have no intention to rub it in. I'll feel good regardless of what happens this afternoon. If the Tigers come back and win, I'll feel happy for all the Tiger fans I live with around. And if the Tribe happens to, win, then I'll be happy as they get swept in the next round. So it's all good. I want to tell a Bad Bunny story, but I'll wait because Seth has to go. So we don't want to get into my Bad Bunny stuff. Brian's already shaking.
You don't even know who that is. I don't even know who that is.
Hey, I looked him up. And he's a guy who wears a t-shirt.
Oh, because the internet. The internet's always right, Craig. You can look up something on the internet.
He wears a t-shirt,
and then you've done your research.
Brian has had a lot of profound commentary on this segment, but that is the best piece of commentary you've ever had. You don't even know who that is, Craig. You're right.
I have no idea. He's a guy who wears a t-shirt and a tie. And that's one.
You sound jealous.
Well, no, I mean,
84 years as a lawyer will do for you. It's like, he gets to wear a t-shirt with his tie. I'm jealous of this guy.
Well, when I was 15 years old in high school, I showed up one day to school with a t-shirt and a tie. And the homeroom teacher dragged me down to the vice principal's office, Mr. Tire Biter. He dragged me down to Tire Biter's office, and Tire Biter looked at me and said, "Whoa, what's this? I mean, you can't show up to school like that." And I wanted to say, yeah, I can show up to school like that because I'm here, aren't I? But I decided no. I would go off on a riff about, hey, you guys let gang colors in the school, which they did. They had the Cavaliers, the Dukes, the Barons, and the Emerald Gems. They had four gangs.
Those are minor league baseball teams, Craig.
No, they were gangs, but they were okay. I didn't have any beef with any of them. And they let Elmer Suggs wander around school with a switchblade tearing stuff up on the. They let that. That's what I'm saying to Tire Biter. And so they let that stuff, but they're not going to let me come into school like with a t-shirt and a tie, and Bad Bunny gets $1 million to sing at the Super Bowl with a t-shirt and a tie. So
Craig, you know that my favorite part about this story is that you prefaced it by saying that you weren't going to tell it so that Seth could talk before he has to leave.
All right, never mind. I won't tell you the punchline.
I've never heard.
Listen, when an old man needs to complain about a Super Bowl singer, then clear the floor. Old man has opinions about the guy at the Super Bowl.
He said there was a punchline. What's the punchline?
Well, he said you got to go home and come back with a regular shirt, and if you want to wear a tie, wear your ties. I said, okay. So he sent me home. I went home. I came back with a regular white shirt, and I had 3 ties. I had tied 3 ties around it. And he saw me and he threw me out of the school again. So then I had to get my parents to come in and explain why I wasn't making a mockery of the school. The school made a mockery of itself. It was Lorraine High School. Whatever. Go ahead. I'm done. Bad Bunny. This is all about timing in life. You know, Bad Bunny can wear a T-shirt and a tie, and he makes $1 million. I wear a T-shirt and a tie, I get kicked out of school.
Well, it's possible that this guy has charisma.
It's quite possible compared to me. In fact, it's a lock. But anyway,
You mention anything about Riz, and Craig immediately thinks, "Oh, I do like Riz crackers. Those are delicious."
Yeah.
Craig, I mean, this one took the cake, man. This one took the cake. All right. Let's talk a little Michigan football, because we know Craig has to, or Seth has to scoop. And so, Seth, there is a game coming up this weekend against the Wisconsin Badgers, a team that I just thought would not have a head coach named Luke Fickell coming to town. But here we are. They have not fired their coach, who decided that it was a good idea to have a spread offense in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, they hired Jeff Grimes from Kansas, and they told him, try to make us Wisconsin again. The problem is you can't take a spread offense and then, snap your fingers and turn into Wisconsin again. It took a long time for them to get that thing rolling. They got some injuries on offense, so they're 89th in S&P plus. They just lost to Maryland. Jake Renfro is their center, who is pretty good, but he's out, so they're going to be playing this guy Ryan Corey, who can't play. Billy Edwards, you remember him from Maryland. Michigan tried to go get him. He's probably not going to play. They tried to play him for like 9 snaps against Maryland, and it was not happening. So he's going to be out probably as well, which means Danny O'Neal is going to be the starter, which means they're not going to move the ball very much. Their running back was a 5-star and looks terrible. Their offense is a dead letter. The only saving grace for them is Wink starts going nuts and doing weird stuff and making things easy on them. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he got that out of his system in Nebraska. We're back home again. We got Rod Moore to celebrate, and we got Bryce Underwood. Probably has now had a couple weeks, right? We gave him a bye to kind of practice some things. We know that we're a stretch team now, so I think this is going to be a pretty solid Michigan win.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do in this game. I'll be interested to see if last week or a couple of weeks ago was an anomaly, or do we see in this game that it's more who they are talking about first defensively, as far as can they get pressure consistently with 4? They hadn't shown over the first few games that they could do that. If they can do that in this game, I think that will go a long way towards dialing back the aggression. The aggression of the calls. I think that'll go a long way towards doing that. Meanwhile, offensively, I think they'll have their way. I stopped short of calling them a stretch team. I think stretch is in their arsenal. But I think what I'm more interested in is seeing how they evolve as far as their passing game and who plays in it. I think we see some Andrew Marsh this week. I think after you saw some more drops in the game, increased competition, either you see some improvement from the guys who are playing or you play some more of your young guys. I think it was just a matter of time on task for Andrew Marsh to get some experience in the scheme. And I think you just got to start playing your thoroughbreds, man. And so I'm expecting to see some more Andrew Marsh out there this week. So those are the couple of things I'm looking for.
One thing that jumped out during Sharon's press conference is he talked about the opportunity scrimmages they have, and the first 2 names out of his mouth were Andrew Marsh and Jamar Browder. So clearly they've seen what the wide receiver position is offering, and other than McCulley, it's been a little dodgy. So I would expect to see Michigan alternate some guys there. And then the other person that I'm really hoping can get back on the field is Hogan Hansen.
Yeah.
So Hansen had that spectacular catch downfield against Central Michigan and looks the part of a tight end who can go get you 50, 60 targets if he's healthy for a season. So, I think Marsh he's a freshman and he's made a lot of mistakes. He has his holding calls. He's lined up wrong. He didn't look for the ball. He's a guy who I think will come along over the course of the year. But if I'm looking at one person on the roster who I feel can sort of step up Michigan's receiving game, it's probably Hansen.
Whatever happened to Peyton O'Leary? By the way, he catches the ball. I mean, he doesn't drop it. I mean, by my recall.
I mean, he's a guy, right? Like he's you're
I
gonna get the same out of Fred Moore.
I'm not sure I agree with that because Fred Moore had an opportunity this year,
Yeah.
dropped, and Peyton
Uh
O'Leary
huh.
has reliable hands. Can he get open? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Bud Davis, who's posts these large statistical breakdowns, and I put this on the site yesterday. And one thing that really jumps out is that right now Michigan is really struggling against man coverage. So is Peyton O'Leary the guy who's going to help you against man coverage? Probably not. Like Peyton O'Leary sitting down against his zone, getting open on a scramble drill. Like, yeah, I think that's a viable option for him. But if Michigan's struggling against man coverage, a guy like Marsh is more likely to be helpful in that department than O'Leary.
Agreed. And you got to figure out a way to bring those guys to competency because their athleticism is such that they can help you against in athletic. This is a test of athleticism. Can my guy beat your guy? That's what essentially what man coverage is. But you got to be able to get them on the field to be able to show that. I think they've been here long enough now to where you should be able to see that. I think with Marsh especially, I don't know as much. I don't know if we'll see Browder as much, but Marsh, I definitely expect to see. Another thing that I expect to see, finally do they get Zeke Berry and Caleb Anderson back? That will be huge for Michigan because they need their allotment of DBs before they head out to USC. USC might have fallen to Illinois, but it wasn't because their offense wasn't their passing game wasn't explosive. Michigan has got to get their DBs back and getting some lather before they head out to the land of Troy. So I think we'll see those guys this week too.
What about two things, Seth, while we have you? One is Wisconsin, I believe, is number one in the country in run defense. Now, and they did only give up 70 yards, is my recall. I think that's around the right number to Alabama. So it wasn't like they piled this up against Middle Tennessee State. Does this give you any pause at all that this actually is a good run defense, or seemingly?
They've got some guys up front. So Gerald Peterson's a strong side end. I like him. Xavier Suggs is their is a defensive tackle. He can penetrate. He can run you down. Ben Barton is their 330-pound nose. Those three guys. And then they got a Louisville transfer, Mason Riker, who's pretty decent too at the weak side end. So that front is pretty decent. Past that, now they got. If you remember Tackett Curtis from USC, like when Wisconsin's got to go get a linebacker from USC, they're not great. I think that Alabama got a lead and they were just trying to salt it away, and that's kind of been the story against Wisconsin. So it looks like they got a good run defense because there are long periods of the game where the other team is just running into stacked boxes and trying to kill the clock. That's their pass defense has been a lot worse than they were hoping.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he had 5 incompletions the whole game. He threw for like 400 yards. Like if you could just throw on him at will, why would you do anything else?
Yeah, and like the one guy they've got, I think, is Austin Brown, who just who's guy Michigan, I think, was trying to recruit too. But everybody else in that secondary is, I don't know, they're less than the Wisconsin normal. Let's put it that way.
Who is the quarterback for Wisconsin this week? Do you have any guess? I mean, Billy Edwards is
Danny O'Neal, San Diego State transfer. Yep.
So Danny O'Neal is Nick Sheridan.
Oh, great.
He has no arm. He ran 18 times for -7 yards against Maryland. Now 6 of those were sacks, but it's Pop Gun City over there. And they brought in Billy Edwards, but Edwards has been hurt. He did play a series against Maryland, but was clearly still gimpy and not able to full go. Now they've had a bye week, so it's possible that he's going to be healthy, and that might change their offense a little bit. But the thing about them is they just can't run the ball. Like, they have this Dylan Jones guy, but he's just a guy, and their offensive line is not Wisconsin vintage. And as Ben mentioned, like they have completely abandoned their identity. Maryland's up 20-0 at half. Alabama throws for 13 yards an attempt. Like they won against Miami of Ohio it was 17-0, and they couldn't run against Miami of Ohio, 3.8 yards a carry against Miami of Ohio. Like, I mean, the question is not really like what is Wisconsin going to do against Michigan's run game. It's like, are they going to score? And I have my money on probably, but it won't be until the second half.
So Wisconsin has just completely abandoned what made them successful for many years.
Well, yeah, I mean, Fickle comes in and he hires Phil Longo,
Mhm.
and they go to this like passing spread offense without a quarterback or receivers, and I'm like, Fickle, you've been around the league, like, what are you doing? So, I mean, the only thing that's keeping and the 24/7 site for Wisconsin is reporting that they think that he's going to survive this year. And that's the only interesting thing about Wisconsin right now, is that they are sort of a picture of what it's like to have a coach with a huge buyout in the aftermath of the House settlement, because his buyout is like 25 million,
Yeah.
which is a full year of revenue sharing. So are you better off as Wisconsin firing a guy and then spending a lot of money to get a new guy, and then I'm not sure what you're going to do with your revenue share. Like, is that going to impinge on your programs, or are you just going to grit your teeth and see if this guy can turn it around? So, in most years, like 5 years ago, Fickle would already be fired. They would have left him on the tarmac after the Maryland game. But here it's like, well, I mean, they have a kind of a Hobson's choice where they don't have good options.
Yep. Seth, I know you got a scoot. You got any parting shots or a score? How much does Michigan win this game by? Any interesting takeaways as you ready to?
Yeah, I think Michigan's pass offense is actually going to come alive a little bit this week. I think they got some time to work on with Brights. I think that they've been keeping things kind of close to the vest. Even the Nebraska game, they weren't doing too much with him. And I think the plan all along was, let's see some more offense against Wisconsin. You're going to get man coverage, so you kind of know what you're going to practice against. That is the kind of thing you can really pick apart when you got a guy with an arm, as long as you can get some receivers open. They don't have to be open by that much, right? Get it downfield, get it to catch the ball. Andrew Marsh, make 2 big catches and 2 big mistakes, and I'll be happy. Like, that guy is the most freshman I've ever seen so far. But now we're mid-season, so let's see some mid-season form.
Yeah, I think great stuff. I think the main thing is let him play through some mistakes. He'll make some, but I think he'll make some good plays on the other side of that, and you'll be rewarded for it down the line, because you got to get some playmaking out there that's not named Donovan McCulley.
Seth, before you go, I have one quick question. Does UCLA win a game this year?
Where?
I think that UCLA's best chance to win a game was when they were down 17-0 to Northwestern.
So no, I don't think they're going to win any. Someone on your site called the UCLA Northwestern game, quote, a pillow fight, and I think that was a pretty good sort of.
All right.
See you,
guys.
Seth.
Yep.
Appreciate you. As Seth is out. And fellas, listen, I wonder if, before we get over to talking Michigan basketball, which we'll do in the second half, I wonder if you have any big takeaways from the big games that we saw across the Big Ten landscape. Oregon, Penn State, which went exactly like I thought it was going to go. Washington, Ohio State, which wasn't, Washington didn't score as much as I thought they would score in that game. And then Illinois beating USC, which that was the most surprising of the matchups. I thought that USC was just going to run. I thought they were going to light Illinois up, and that just did not happen. It was a back and forth affair that Illinois wound up winning. I wonder what stood out to you about any of those games, guys.
Well, I mean, I think Penn State, Oregon is just an example of how Penn State is what they are. And they came into this season with a ton of hype, and I never bought any of it because Drew Aller is Drew Aller, and they never have an offensive line, and that's the case. So they, those running backs aren't going to generate anything for you on their own. They never have, and they never will. If you get them 5 yards, they're going to get you 10. But if you get them 0 yards, they're going to get you 1. They're just guys who need momentum, and they never have an offensive line that's commensurate with what they expect to do. So, like, I was happy to be right, I guess, about Penn State. But if I was like, there's a bunch of Penn State fans that are like, I'm out. And that's crazy, but I agree with them. It's completely insane. But if I was a Penn State fan, I would be like, Matt Campbell, come on down, because it can't. Like, this is the ceiling for Penn State. Like, they're never gonna. I mean, they made the national semi last year, but they beat like Boise State and SMU. They are never going to beat Ohio State. They are never going to beat Michigan. They are never going to beat Oregon. They're always going to be like an also ran under James Franklin because he just can't put together an offensive line, and he can't put together a game plan, and he can't make game day decisions. He's just James Franklin. Frames Janklin.
Did he bet on the wrong quarterback?
I mean,
there's
an argument for that because Pribula is doing pretty well at Mizzou, and Kotelnicki did a lot with a mobile quarterback at Kansas. But it doesn't matter if you never have an offensive line. If your offensive line is always soft patch, this is what you get. You just can't move the ball against good teams.
They're going to make the playoffs, though, right? They'll lose to Ohio State, and that's it. And
I mean,
so,
I would not put it past them to lose to someone else on their schedule. They're just going to be in a 2017 game that could go either way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, honestly, they could lose to Maryland. That could happen.
I think they're going to go 10-2 and make the playoffs and make an argument that how tough they played these top teams. That's what we're going to hear.
Sorry, I have to correct myself. They're not playing Maryland.
Okay,
I thought that was a protected rivalry. But they are playing Indiana. They are playing Iowa. They're playing Nebraska, and they're playing Rutgers. They could lose any of those.
Win. They win all those.
You think they're going to win against Indiana?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
did you see what Indiana's defense did to Illinois, which then turned around and put up 34 on USC?
I know.
And they fumbled in the end zone twice. Illinois.
I know the USC Illinois game was.
You don't think Penn State Iowa is going to be like 13-13 in the fourth quarter? That's what I think is going to be.
Well, it could be, but I have a hunch Penn State's coming through those, and they're going to make the playoffs. And James Franklin will still be considered a good coach, and Penn State fans will still be.
You got to look at
by the people who are relevant, which is
they've played Nevada, Florida International, and Villanova.
You think Penn State fans think James Franklin is a good coach? I don't think Penn State fans think that.
Well, it's a strange situation where there is probably a rationalist outpost in the Penn State fan base that's like, we're winning 10 games a year. Right. This is a hard guy to get rid of. But I would assume they're a pretty small wing because, if you look at his record, he's like 4-15 against Michigan and Ohio State. He hasn't beaten a top team and I don't know how long. Like, hit flat track bullies. That's Penn State.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I give their fans credit. I mean, they show up. They hang in there, and I was impressed with that environment. But if you can't win in that environment, my guess is they're going to continue to be what they are with Franklin, but I do believe they'll end up making the playoffs.
Yeah, listen, if they only lose to Ohio State and it's close, I think you're.
What about the Oregon game gives you confidence that they're only going to lose to Ohio State?
I'm not saying that
they had like 4 yards of offense until there were 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
You're probably right. You're just being rational. My instinct is that that's what's going to happen. They are somehow going to win these games.
I mean, anyone who gets pressure on Drew Aller, kid turns into a pumpkin, can't escape the pocket. You move him off the spot, he's done.
Yeah, he got thoroughly outplayed by Dante Moore. I mean, that just
that's
he's
true.
Been a fraud. He's been a fraud. They thought he was going to be JJ McCarthy. He's been anything but.
To be JJ McCarthy, you got to have 2 legs. I don't know how many he has, but it's not 2.
And the dude is mentally, I'm not saying that he's not a smart guy just on the football field. He is a mental midget. In the moment, he just cannot rise to the occasion.
I mean, that's because he can't move. Like, they're running him, and it just looks like, John Navarre running out there. Except he's like, John Navarre did it once against Minnesota with the trick play, and he's doing it 10 times a game. And it's just like, bro.
What do you guys make of what happened to USC at Illinois? I just knew they were going to light Illinois up.
Well, they did, but they have no defense. It's just how James Franklin is always going to be James Franklin. Lincoln Riley is always going to be Lincoln Riley.
How
He's
do you
always going to have an
explain
offense. It doesn't matter who he brings in on defense. Doesn't matter what he does in the portal. It doesn't matter who his defensive coordinator is. That defense is always going to be terrible.
the stat to me in that game? I said this yesterday. They enter that game leading the nation in sacks against the team who gave up 7 against Indiana, and they sacked him they sack Allmeyer one time.
Well, and so they, Illinois puts up 34 points in that game, and they fumble into the end zone twice.
Twice, yeah.
Twice.
They were on the 1 yard line, ready
They
to
should have
score.
put up 50.
Yeah,
Illinois.
That's correct. But then you've got Indiana going to Iowa, and they can't really move the ball there. I mean,
Well,
that
that's
game.
Iowa. Like that's what they do, right? Like they're going to get you in a rock fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
USC is soft. You can punch them on defense. You can run on them. Their pass rush is a bit of a paper tiger. Run the football. That was my biggest takeaway. You can absolutely run the football on them. Illinois ran the football on them. Once they were able to do that, everything else kind of fell into place because Illinois was having real problems protecting the quarterback, and they were fine against what was supposed to be a really good pass rush, and it wasn't against them. Now, can you cover USC is the question, because they can definitely they got some receivers across.
Yeah, they'll put up points. There's no doubt about that.
So. All right, we want to talk some basketball, so we will do that on the other side, folks. So hang with us, because this team looks like a squad, man. I'm curious how you guys feel about it. Media Day was a couple of days ago. We'll react and reflect. We'll return here on the Michigan Insider MGoBlog Roundtable, Big 1050 WTKA, online at thebig1050.com.
Clear on the radio.
So does Illinois play any of the top? Did they play Oregon, Ohio State?
They got one. They have Ohio State next week.
Okay, so they'll be 10-2 probably. Be a lot of 10-2 teams in the league.
You're really jumping to a lot of conclusions there.
I know I am. That's
They have to go to Washington.
To Washington. They play Maryland. They play Rutgers. Both of those are losable.
Yeah. All right. So
someone was asking what happened with Dante Moore. Matt Weiss happened with Dante.
Was that right? Is that the deal?
Matt Weiss. He was not he did not feel Matt Weiss at all. And then when it came time before Jim left, there was some interest in Michigan, but he kind of wanted Michigan to really kind of throw down the gauntlet and kind of go all out to get him. And that I think Jim was of the mind that he wasn't over how things went down when they recruited him initially. You remember they offered Dante in the 7th grade. They really prioritized him and for a long time. And when push came to shove, the kid was just not feeling Weiss to the point where he pushed Michigan to the left. And I don't think Jim ever got over that. So when he hit the portal, Michigan just was lukewarm in their pursuit. I don't know if it would have been different if Jim wasn't kind of looking, he was kind of looking at the Chargers at that time too. So I don't know if it would have been different if he were looking to stay. Maybe it would have been. I don't know.
He's looked good. You know who else has looked really good to me has been CJ Carr.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
another Matt Weiss thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, CJ Carr
good.
To me looks like a potential NFL quarterback. I mean, he's a nice player. I mean, he's better than I thought I would see. And Dante Moore has become what I thought we would see. Yeah. 3 years ago. So
that dude was so clutch. I mean, that play he made for the touchdown at the end, kind of getting around the night Dennis Sutton and, throwing the pass that's Dante Moore.
Yeah.
Just clutch dude in that environment. So, and then Michigan has I think a guy with the same moxie and more talent in Bryce.
Yeah, I hope that's true. I mean, there aren't a lot of freshman quarterbacks who compete at the level he's competed at already.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully this will continue to get
Yeah,
get
and
better.
that's what I tell myself. I say, you know, if they had gotten, let's say Jim had put all of that to the side and they had gone and really gone hard after Dante and gotten them, would Bryce had come? Would he have come if Dante were here? I don't know. I don't know if he would have.
Yeah.
So
Brian, do you think it was a major mistake by Wisconsin to get rid of Paul Christ?
No, I mean, it was a major mistake. I mean, Fickle looked like a good hire, but then he comes in and he's just like, I don't care about your program. I don't care what made you successful. Like they won't, like they always got those, corn-fed Wisconsin linemen and like the 350-pound backs, and like that's what made them successful. And there's a ceiling on that program. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But there's no floor if you're just trying to be like everybody else.
Coming back in about a minute.
Yeah, that's just, you would think that Fickle would have learned from Chris, who bet the house. He bet the house, the farm. He bet everything on what's the quarterback? What was that guy?
Graham Mertz.
Yeah, Graham Mertz. He bet the program's identity on
Mhm.
him and lost his job for it.
Well,
Yeah.
he just he wasn't a good coach, but that doesn't mean that you bring in the next guy and the next guy has to discard the stuff that you've done for 30 years. That's the only thing that's ever made your program good. Like before Alvarez came in, they were awful because they didn't have an identity. Like Minnesota has more of an identity than Wisconsin right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Coming back on the radio in a moment. Also, if people are listening on the radio, I am playing a prime example of Bad Bunny right now. Back on radio in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com. Before we get back to the MGoBlog Roundtable, I want to tell those of you who are in the market for a new vehicle, you should get on board with Brighton Ford. Go to BrightonFord.com, call 1-800-NEW-FORD to make it out to the lot at 8240 West Grand River Avenue in Brighton, Michigan. When you do, John Cuter and his crew will take great care of you with deals that can be beaten, deals like the one on the 2025 Ford F-150 XLT. Get into that award-winning pickup for $271 a month with $3,500 down, or $361 a month with $500 down. Or how about the 2025 Ford Escape? You can get into that for $240 a month with $3,500 down, or $332 a month with $500 down. And last but not least, the 2025 Ford Explorer Active, $289 a month, $3,500 down, or $378 a month with $500 down. For those and other great deals, get on board with Brighton Ford by going to BrightonFord.com. Call 1-800-NEW-FORD. Make it out to the lot at 8240 West Grand River Avenue in Brighton, Michigan, and get on board with Brighton Ford. Well, fellas, Michigan basketball. I mentioned on this show. I've mentioned on this show before. I do the Michigan Basketball Insider with Tim McCormick, who can be pretty reserved in his predictions. He's been to several practices, and he said to me, "Sam, this team is gonna win the Big Ten." He said, "I think this is the Final Four team." Ira talked to Rudy Tom Johnson at the basketball reunion, and he said Rudy T was saying the same thing. I think this is a Final Four team. Guys, Craig, I know you were at Media Day. That was kind of they weren't saying it outright, the coaches, but you could really get the feeling that they think this team has some real potential this year. Certainly they think it's better than last year's team.
Yeah, I mean, most time coaches are going to downplay things. You know, you never want to be in a situation of saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to be really great," and then finish 500 and the fans think you're an idiot. And so, but Dusty is, to say the least, very upbeat and very clear that he thinks he has the horses this year. And I wasn't disabused by what I saw on Tuesday. And I mentioned this to Alejandro and to you, Sam. I asked, have you ever seen a practice that physical? I never saw anything like that. I mean, I never saw a basketball practice where they got the student managers out there whacking the players with as hard
Yeah.
as they can with whatever those things are they were whacking players with. I mean, Dusty's comments last year that, well, he knew the Big Ten was physical, but he didn't quite appreciate it. Well, he sure as heck appreciates it now, because I never saw anything. I've been to a lot of practices going back to the 70s, and I never saw anything like that.
Yeah, I'm putting together. I was going through the videos and putting together all my my commentary to go along with the
Mhm.
video that I'm posting, and that was my biggest takeaway, Brian, is that the reaction, the adjustment to year one for Dusty May is we're gonna make sure we're ready for the physicality of the Big Ten, because they were beating the hell out. That this was a different practice in that there wasn't as much scrimmaging in the practice. There was more drill work,
Yeah.
but one of the drills was we're gonna beat the hell out of you. And I mean, scratching, clawing, beating the hell out of guys with pads. You got to show that you can rebound through that. You got to show that you can play through contact, dribble through it, the whole thing. It was a physical. It was a test of physicality, and that was not something we saw at any of the practices we were at last year.
Well, I think he, it was a welcome to the Big Ten kind of year, especially in East Lansing, right? And so his whole off season was about getting guys who can rebound. Like Morez Johnson had, I think, a 17% offensive rebound rate. He wasn't playing in the scrimmage, but you have,
Right.
Ed Amara, who had pretty similar rate, and then you could bring in Lendenborg. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be taller or bigger than Michigan in the Big Ten this year, and then it's just about applying that to your rebounding numbers. But I watched this practice footage that your guys put up, and it looked. It's hard to tell exactly because you're playing each other, but it just looks like an enormous team, and they're going to have uh, a lot of options when there's matchup issues. Like I saw Lendeborg said that like he might play the 3 this year, and then he said, "I think I can guard a 2," and I'm like, "We're not going to find that out," but so
Well,
I mean,
go
they
ahead.
do switch, right? So and that
Yes.
is going to be an important part of his game. But if you just look at this year versus last year, you had very limited scoring options off the bench. You had to play Roddy Gale, even though he was shooting 9% from 3 in Big Ten play, and you didn't really have an option to go to other than him because Kason had his moments, but his on-off splits were terrible. And their backup center was the starting 4. Now the backup center is the backup center, and I think they're both going to get more than 20 minutes a game. There's going to be some like Twin Towers lineups. So your depth is always the most important at center. I loved the year where they had Wagner and Teskey online, and like if
Yeah.
one of them got in foul trouble, it was like, oh, who cares? We're just going to bring in the other guy, and that allows you to play more free, allows you to challenge more shots, go for more rebounds, and especially if you're going to play as up tempo as Michigan wants to play, that's really important because late in the year, like it was Vlad or nothing, and Vlad got gassed, right? So this is going to be a situation where you have Cadeau, who's great at generating shots most of the time, and you're going to have guys around him that are just going to make any missed shot a pretty good play. Like if he gets in the lane on pick and roll and just puts up a floater, usually floaters aren't a great shot. But if you have Mara sitting there, if you have Johnson sitting there and there's like a 50-50 chance you're getting the rebound, yeah, just put that bad boy up. Like the main thing I'm looking for statistically early in the year is what is Cadeau's turnover rate? Because a turnover on this team is a sin. Because anything you throw in the general direction of the backboard has a pretty good chance of being rebounded by Michigan. So he had a higher turnover rate than Danny Wolf did a year ago. And maybe that's Hubert Davis. Maybe that's his role on the team. Maybe he just got stuck with a lot of stuff. And maybe that's the fact that he was passing it to Van Allen Lubin, who's like a Vandy transfer and isn't 7'3" with freaky long arms, and isn't Morez Johnson, who could be an NBA guy who plays in the dunker spot, isn't Yaxel Lendenborg. So there's a lot of moving parts here. We only have 4 returning players, but I feel that you look at this and there's a couple of things that could derail the season. One is turnovers, and 2 is 3-point shooting. And other than that, I think that they're good. Like they're going to be great rebounders. They're going to be great defenders. Like the rim protection you get from Mara, and then the size in the lineup, and you have a very good point of attack defender in Cadeau. Like, it's really just, can they shoot and can they take care of the ball?
Yeah, man. I guess media days are wrought with hyperbolic statements, right? But when it's a really good team and you have seasoned guys making statements, I tend to lean towards they're more substantive than hyperbolic. And so Elliot Cadeau said, "Hey, this is the most talented team I've been on." Said, this is different." Akeem, in talking about Adai Mara, he said, "Hey, Adai Mara is a more talented passer than Danny Wolf." And I said, "Wait a minute, man. do you want to adjust that statement? This is on camera. You're saying this." He said, "No." He said, "I love Danny. Danny's a pro, obviously, and he's really good." He said, "But Adai is really, really skilled with his passing." And no sooner than he said that, it's his practicing in the scrimmage, but he's back to he's in post up. He's in the post up, and he sees Will Cheddar on a basket cut, and the dude throws a pass over his shoulder in stride to Will Cheddar on a basket cut for a layup. I think that's what he's talking about. Like, the dude just has really good vision. So I find myself, looking at all these strengths they have. It's what are the deficiencies that could trip them up? So Adai Mara, he is. I see why Mick Cronin, why he didn't really vibe with him, because in that physical drill he was getting tossed around, right? He was getting knocked around, and that's going to be a work in progress. But they go and get this, Malik Cordell guy, and Brian. I actually think that dude, he could give them some minutes. Like, let's say something happened where Merez is in some foul trouble, and you're in Big Ten play, and you're like, "Hey, man, Adai, he is in Michigan State or Purdue," and you're in one of those matchups where you're feeling like, "Oh man, it's getting a little thick down there physically." Adai is not your only option. I think this Cordell dude could actually be on the court for them.
Before Brian gets into this, I came away with the same feeling. I mean, Dusty said that Cordell, when they recruited him strictly off tape, because I think when he went to Europe to see Cordell, he was sick or hurt or something, so he couldn't see him play, but they decided to take him anyway. And so I've thought that this was strictly a major league project. That's not the fact. In fact, I said to Joyner, Justin, that, okay, this guy's a great athlete, but he doesn't have any basketball skills, right? He's coming out of team handball. And no, I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, this guy is 7'2". He's almost as tall as Mara. And he's physical as all get out. And while, he ain't going to shoot threes or anything like that, but looks like he's got pretty good hands, and he knows what he's doing in the paint. I was stunned by this, Sam.
I was surprised. I was surprised.
Well, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. But this guy is a 10 fouls per 40 guy as a freshman, right? Like, I watched him play. They're not counting the fouls there, but they're whistling them. And there was about a 10-minute scrimmage that I watched, and he probably had 4 fouls in those 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think
that's a fair point.
He can give you some minutes, but you got to expect that there's going to be fouls attached to that. And also, you don't need to play him. Like, there might be a game or two where, he's a useful option. But honestly, you have 2 5s, and then you have Yaxel, who can definitely play the 5. And like, Cordell's an interesting guy, and like, I think he's more interesting as an example of how Dusty May is building this roster, because they picked up Liburd late in the cycle. Great 3-point shooter, a guy who expects to redshirt, doesn't cost any NIL money. They picked up Malachi Brown very recently, a 3-and-D wing who played for a great AAU team and was just a connector. Defense is his calling card. He scored probably 15 points in the entire tournament that people noticed him in. And Also, a guy who had D2 offers, just got a UC, I think Santa Barbara offer, or San Diego offer
Santa Barbara, I think.
Okay. Just before, Dusty went down there, another guy who doesn't cost a bunch of NIL. And you see a lot of high-end prospects who are not committing because they don't know what the NIL situation is. But I was talking about how basketball scholarships are functionally infinite now because you can't have 15 guys on a basketball team. And Dusty May is like, bet. And I don't know what Library's going to do. I don't know what Brown's going to do. I don't know what Cordell's going to do. But I do know that Dusty May is buying lottery tickets. And I think that given his track record,
He's underdeveloped.
John L. Davis was unranked. Elijah Martin was unranked. Nick Boyd was unranked. He finds guys and he coaches them up. Kason was unranked. Yeah, like all of these guys, he has an eye. And for me, yeah, the transfer portal is going to be a big part of Michigan basketball going forward. But also, you're going to have some of these guys are going to hit, and the opportunity cost here is basically zero. And I think the way he's putting together these rosters is incredibly smart.
Yeah, man.
Continuity. He wants top end talent, and he's doing both.
Yeah, man. So you wonder if a guy is going to get to the big time and be big time. Like all I'm gonna do is recruit 5-star because I got a big time budget too. So I got profile and I got money. So that's all I'm gonna do is recruit those guys. And he's staying true to his roots. Yeah, I'm gonna recruit the big time guys. I'm gonna get Quinn Costello, but I'm gonna come right behind it and still get my developmental guys as well. I knew he was an outstanding coach. He's even better than I thought he was going to be. And when talking about Cordell, I don't expect him to be a guy, but when I look for the deficiencies, do they have ways to fill in the gaps? And I'm like, yeah, man. You look at shooting. It's like, okay, where are they going to get shooting from? Man, I'm telling you.
I saw 7 guys making threes pretty routinely in that practice. 7 guys who could shoot it.
Now, will it translate to games?
Yeah,
you have to wait to see. But Trey McKinney, I think, is going to be able to give them shooting in games. To me, in scrimmage action, he outside of Will Cheddar.
Yeah.
Trey McKinney was. I know Namari is their most proven guy, but at least in scrimmage action, like Trey was knocking him down. I think Trey, he is going to be able to serve that role as a freshman. And I saw an exchange in drills that was at least encouraging to me. There was a 3-point shooting contest between Roddy Gale and Yaxel. Yaxel said, "I'm a shooter," and I said, "Well, I got to see you do it. I want to see you do it in games before I call you a shooter." I'm not saying you can't, but I just got to see it. And so they start shooting threes from the elbow, and it's like they both hit like 7 in a row. I think maybe Roddy missed the first one, and then they reel off like 7 or 8 in a row. But Yax wins because he hit all of his. So then they move to the corner, and then they fire off like 9 in a row. And I'm like, nah, it's just a drill.
Yeah.
But what it says to me is, man, these dudes have been clearly working on shooting. And same thing with Elliot Cadeau.
Yeah, Cadeau didn't shoot badly in the scrimmage at all.
Well, Cadeau's numbers you have to take them in context because a lot of his 3-pointers were off the dribble last year. And his catch and shoot is actually pretty good. So if you're doubling down on the post and you're kicking it around the perimeter and it ends up in Cadeau's hands, that's a good shot.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think Dusty and then later Joyner said that they track all the shooting. And that they said so far this year he's been 50.5% in practices off the catch and shoot.
Yeah.
So there are questions here.
Yeah.
I mean, there are questions, and I think Brian put his finger on the number one question, which is, this team should not be turning the ball over. That is the sin of sins on this particular team. But they're going to make the court small. I mean, teams are going to come in and find the court to be very, very small, in my opinion. And they don't have to play a lot of drop, although they have to play some with Mara. But They don't have to play it with Merez, and they don't have to play it with their other big guys, Yaxel or whomever. They don't need it. And so the court's going to be small. They're going to be switching. They're going to be hedging. They'll be doing all of it. I asked Joyner about that, and he said, yeah, we don't want to get into one particular thing, but we want to play a lot of different defenses and not let anybody get real comfortable. So I mean, I'm with Brian, and I think that the turnovers of the thing. Incidentally, and I think this is one of the reasons why players are drawn to Dusty May is I think a lot of coaches want to improve the strengths that they see in their players, whereas Dusty wants to stretch their abilities as much as possible. And I mean, and so you got Trey McKinney playing the point. I didn't think that was plausible, but he looked like, well, maybe he could do that if you actually had, and McKinney is big. I mean, he's not a thin guy. He's a football player type guy, playing basketball. And he looked like, well, maybe he could play the point. And he had a day outside shooting some. I mean, so he's stretching everybody's game. And I think that's part of his sales pitch when players come in.
That's a great
I mean,
point.
did you feel that too?
I absolutely feel that. I can't elaborate though because we're out of time. But we will pick up on it next week. We will also talk about the private equity maybe coming into the Big Ten. We'll dive into that next week. People were asking about that. So stay tuned. We'll get into that. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And go Tigers. See you tomorrow here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTK online at the big1050.com.